Hi everybody, I hope this video goes. It's taken me 3 attempts to load this up and run it, so obviously rural Alberta, I might not have it today. We'll see. Hopefully I'll know soon enough as people log on. If I go past those minutes, then I'll know that, okay, people are coming on. At any point, everybody, I've had a super good sleep, so my eyes have adjusted. I have a hard time seeing the screen again. I know that sounds funny, but I see Jarrett there. I tagged him in it, and I got Benjamin Ebel. I've had him tagged as well too, and it's kind of important. I'm going to get to you guys by the later half of this video, but I just want to give some updates to everybody here how my day went yesterday and concluding that World Forum. So I'm going to start with our Supreme Court of Canada, Justice Wagner, and as well as the European Court of Justice. Now, this is the court of all of those countries, and they have a secondary parliament, but they also have a secondary super court. It's like the Supreme Court, but it's for all those countries. And one of those committee members, I had a one-on-one interview. Can you believe that? He came into a chat room to talk to me, and so pretty crazy. And of course, he knows Justice Wagner, and Justice Wagner was ascended here in Canada, and he's a conservative justice, okay? So he's been on the Supreme Court of Canada for quite a while. I've never talked to any justices at that level in Canada. I've talked to a whole bunch on the world stage, but not of my own country. So this fella, and I'm not going to give his name because I don't have permission yet, but I have the screenshot and everything else, so I'm going to reach out. He knows I'm a real person. He was very interested in talking with me as he went through some of the presentations as well, too, in viewing. I've met a whole bunch of ministers of a pile of nations all over the world, so that's kind of like cabinet ministers of an executive. So not the president or prime minister, but definitely their cabinet ministers. So that's very important, especially when you get into trade, the justice, especially when it's a justice minister. These are usually high lawyers or high judges, or they're in that field, so they're really tied into everything. He asked me a number of questions in regards to what Canada can do to make Alberta happy. What's the problem? So obviously, Supreme Court of Canada, which is actually working, he disclosed that our Superior Court of Canada is working with the European Union right now, and they're hosting and working on a whole bunch of stuff for Canada on the EU. And I can see why, but at the same time, that's Justin Trudeau's narrative. And what was really great, and what I want to get across today, is I was able to communicate. And this is a super justice, like a super Supreme Court justice of the world, okay? And so he's overlapping many countries, and he agreed with me on a whole pile of the releases and claims I made on that world stage in many forums with world experts of specific countries. And he enjoyed the 5 countries too, what I had to say about the UNSC, and he completely agreed. We only had a few minutes together, unfortunately. I didn't get enough time with him, but I'm sure now he knows I'm a real person. He knows he's had me live on video one-on-one, just like me with you guys. Imagine he's on the other end, so as we talk, our screens flip and it's the first person, so he knows I'm real. And it sounds as though there's a good chance I'm going to get a one-on-one with Justice Wagner. So isn't that something that somebody higher than Justice Wagner is going to say, hey, why don't you give this guy a few minutes or an hour or something and pick his brain and let him pick yours? I don't know. But it's exciting. That's exciting for a young, relatively unknown Albertan right out of nowhere. So I think that's pretty cool. You can move the needle. You can get some time. Now, I don't know exactly how that's going to work, but he asked me a lot of questions about how Canada works, because they have a version in the EU, obviously from the Canada side, obviously from the Justin Trudeau side. And I'll tell you all this, what was really nice is for the first time an average Joe got to talk, and then I clearly understood what his committee is. I was able to relate right back to him. I knew exactly what his committee is, what they do, how that works in the European Union, what some of their problems are. And for him, right there, that gave me some credibility with him that, hey, I'm not talking to some hillbilly radical out of Alberta, some kind of rogue regime crazy. I'm talking to a fairly knowledgeable individual who knows exactly what I do for a living, can quote some of the works that he's been doing. So that impressed him. So then he asked me a bunch of questions about Canada, how Canada works, how I feel about it, as per what is related to them on the federal level, or by Supreme Court Justice Wagner and our Canadian Supreme Court as they work with them. And of course they get the liberal and the conservative narrative, right? And I wanted to relate to them about centralization, the issues we have, why we can't amend the Canadian Constitution, why there's nothing that they can do to help Alberta. So that was groundbreaking. I think that's groundbreaking. That was probably the most exciting conclusion to the World Forum for me. And I'd have to thank Richard Albert for that. I don't think there's ever been anybody of my class to go that far, or that, and you think that was just a 3-minute talk roughly. And of course, he had interrupted a conversation I was having with a Taiwanese minister. And of course, we're going into what the USA has just done with Taiwan against China, and where I'm going with China and some of these Asian countries to strengthen Alberta's position. It's kind of the yin and the yang, right? If USA goes for Taiwan, well, then I'm going to go for China, for Alberta, right? And secure that vote, because if USA is going to give Taiwan their support, then I'll get China's support. And that's kind of how we have to play this. It's using international law appropriately, simmer the five tensions, and I guess that's what's going to get into this part 2 here. I'm trying to be quick. I know Jarrett and Benjamin are sitting there, and they're waiting for me to address them as well too. But with the UNSC 5, and what people don't understand is the way the General Assembly works. It's one organ in the UN out of 6, okay? 6 organs. The General Assembly is only an ideas machine. It is all 193 nations, and yes, they assemble, and yes, it's in New York, and every nation has a representative who gets to, every month they get to walk in there and they get to present some kind of idea that would be beneficial for their country, they believe, or for the world at large. And yes, it gets all talked about, gets presented, gets voted on just like any other parliamentary system. However, the difference is it gets ascended to the UNSC, the United Nations Security Council, which is USA, France, UK, Russia, and China. Absolute, cemented. And they vote on it. Now, there is non-permanent members there, a total of 14 of them, but only 5 have a world veto on anything in this world. And it only takes one to ever say no. If they say no, it doesn't matter if all 192 other nations have voted that through. A no is a no. It's called the power of veto, and it's only bestowed upon those 5 nations who are top of the food chain in the UN. The International Court of Justice, the International Court of Criminal Justice are both the highest courts in this world. And for the most part, they can make many decisions. But you know what? Ultimately, the veto of the 5 goes on that court too. So that Court of Justice, if it's a topic that one of those 5, or all 5, or any combination of the 5, doesn't wish to address or doesn't agree with, they can walk into that court, and those justices, highest justices in the world, get shut down, shut down. So think of that's a court. However, there's a veto power of those five. So any one president, Trump, Putin, Xi Jinping, it goes on, right? Macron, Johnson. If any one of them picks up the phone, calls their UNSC rep, and says, shut it down right now, they can shut it down. They just say, sorry, veto, right on that court. And those justices have to say, sorry, world, or sorry, countries, they have just filed and I have to follow it, or I'm out of here. They'll just throw me out. And that's the way the world works. And unfortunately for countries like the European Union knows this very well. This one-on-one I had, and he agreed. He's like, yeah, it's really, the things we work on, like the European Union, anything that parliamentary does inside of that group of countries is all great, wonderful, and dandy amongst them. But the second they try to trade out to the rest of the world, they're absolutely bound to the UNSC 5. That's China, Russia, USA, and this is reality. It's why there's a 15-panel trade bloc right now with China and all the Asian countries, whether they're democratic or not. Look at it. And that also includes, of all countries, Australia, United Kingdom, right? And the reality is it's their shipping routes and their lanes, where they're located in the world, and what presence is there. That's the Chinese military. Now, you can say, oh, screw them, and I hear this all the time from people. Oh, we don't want communism, we don't like it, we don't want it. Unfortunately, look no further than the USA, as the USA bound their power. They bound their power. They caved many, many, many decades ago and gave them back that power. And that's right in Beijing. Before that was China, but it didn't really matter. It didn't really matter if it was that Taiwanese regime or if it was the regime of that time of Beijing, because they were communist nonetheless. That was the war. They were one of the allies, and USA chose at that point, along with the other three members, they voted unanimously to allow China to ascend. Now, the General Assembly kept going, no, 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 no. Many countries tried. And at the time, to give credence to this too, Russia, which is civil law now, was a communist country at that time. And a lot of nations like to ignore this throughout the world, but you can't, because it was cemented way back, 48, and then again in 52. Russia, the Soviet Union, communist Soviet Union, was cemented absolutely. And we had two countries. If you think the world's tough now, back then, at that time, when they cemented the laws of the world, and when you look in the Asian world of the Asian countries, I've studied a great vast amount of them, and the experiment of the Allies, when they said, you know what, Asian world, Africa world, Middle East world, the Southeast Asia you call it, they imposed, USA imposed democracies, USSR imposed communism, and China had imposed limited regimes over countries too, i.e. Taiwanese, i.e. Tibet, and then of course we had UK and Hong Kong. Now, a big issue of the world here is UK did transform, did get a UNSC power, but they had to give up absolutely all their colonialism. So did France as well, too. That was the trade-off. They were decimated countries. Germany had devastated France and UK. They were in building block mode, too. They had to make a clear decision. Do you want one of these powers of the new world? USA and Russia said, look, you guys want these powers? We'll give you this veto power. We'll give you this massive power, but you're going to agree to a new system of governments, which means there is no more of your colonialism, because Axis powers, hello, Spain. Spain, you talk about South America and why South America is in the devastation it is. As a Spanish colonial system, most of those countries, Central America, and this goes on to a lot of island countries throughout the world too, including Africa. France too had to decide. Spain had to decide. And unfortunately for South America and any of the Spanish, Central America, and other nations around the world, there was no granted veto to Spain. You unfortunately were a colonial power, but you didn't get any kind of power of a veto bestowed upon you because Spain had gone with the Axis powers. They'd gone the other way. Not only did they lose their League of Nations status, their tremendous colonial power, they also have no veto and were absolutely an Axis power. This is what's devastated African nations tied to that, South America, Central America, and many other island countries around the world. That is absolute fact, and why they're in such a third world state today. A lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them. And it's just the way the world is. Nobody has a say in it. People say, oh, we can do this, we can do that. But that's not how the war went, and there's winners and losers. We can be happy that the United States won. We can be happy that they had the atomic bomb first, and at the time, the world took the knee to the USA. They took the law of sovereignty. USA was not all empowering. They needed Russia, they needed China, and they need to appease UK, France to allow them to regrow. There were gains, but the world got divided up. Look at Germany. They had the wall, the Berlin Wall. You had East and West. And look at that. One side communist experiment, other side democratic experiment. This is the same thing for the Asian world. Look through all the countries and you'll find the establishment of the UN. It was like a little card game in secret between 1945 and absolutely 1948 as the world came to be in the new UN. Now the USA, the system of the 50 states of sovereignty inside the United States of America, think of it as the first EU ever assembled. However, it's a country, whereas EU is a new concept of giving country UN state status and votes on a General Assembly under the banner of one kind of governing system. So the USA is a very old system, very successful. It's probably the best example in the world today, but they gave this sovereignty and they created the UN to have that sovereignty. People don't understand the two different variables of the UN, and that the fact that the General Assembly in Oregon, with no ultimate power in any way, shape, or form except for to create ideas that have to be passed by those five powers. And I'm going to tell you all right now, and you can look at every single one, the things you don't like, most of them, 99%, are in the UN garbage can. They're not international binding law. They have not been ratified by those five. And if your country ratifies them, you're going against the five, which are the allies. And there is no getting rid of China. This talk of, oh, you have some power over China, USA and the rest of the narrative cemented them in forever. It was USA's decision with their ultimate authority and power, and they did that. They did that a very long time ago. And this isn't to attack our best ally, and I love the USA. It's a statement of reality. I didn't create this world. USA did. The Americans did. They ascended China. They chose, and they did it. I can't change that. Nobody can. And USA, when they target your country, oh, come with us, go against any other member of the five, we elect our politicians. They're supposed to be educated. They're supposed to be on this international forum. And Canadians and Albertans right now understand this. Canada was very successful as a founding ally, a member of the Security Council for many, many decades. Since a little bit before Pierre Elliott Trudeau, we started defying that slowly, bit by bit. And the Allies warned us, stop, da 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 da, until eventually it hit a crossroad of you've gone too far with non-binding laws, meaning you've taken those former Axis powers into your bosom and you've gone too far and you've gone to the point where you've betrayed us. And by doing that, Canada has forever lost any credibility on the UNSC, which is important because that is the home of the Allies. We've lost 2 in a row. Stephen Harper got us kicked out. Everybody complains about Agenda 21, Agenda 30, Paris Climate Accord. I can go on and on. It goes all the way to 100. There's probably 30 that, and over 20 of them that have been embraced and signed off by Canada that absolutely undermine the 5 completely. When they fight amongst each other, we've elected politicians, we have our emissaries overseas. That's their job, to know all these things. It shouldn't be some trailer park guy like myself having to go out there and say, hey, you guys know that you can't do any of this. And some get it, but many don't. And you're all sitting here at home right now watching me talk about this. And I'm telling you that on that stage, we are not doing any of that. We haven't done that for decades. We've gone with all of the General Assembly garbage can proposals, as in we're sold out, with zero authority to do so. And in fact, we've moved towards civil law socialist, which is 70% of the world today. It's been that way for a long time. Most of the world is dictatorship, civil law, extreme socialist, or communist. That's reality. The minority is democracy. And we're not really even a true democracy. We've always been mixed. But for many decades, we were smart enough to always remain an ally. A simmer of tensions. Canada was instrumental. We haven't been that way since a little bit before Pierre Elliott Trudeau. And it's only gotten worse since Pierre Elliott Trudeau. Our fat cat politicians, I hate to say it, obviously our Supreme Court isn't functioning very well at all on the world stage. They're out there playing on your behalf, and they're incorrect. They're absolutely incorrect. It's devastated our country, and all of you are being taxed to death, paying these people exorbitant amounts of money to go out there and absolutely screw us all over on the world stage. And I don't mean a little bit, I mean a lot. And then we've allowed our media to be programmed and propagated to tell you guys all, oh no, hate the UN, Canada's awesome, it's the world's evil and bad. No, it's how, and you all know this at home, because you all work for a living or you run businesses. You have to go out there every day of your life. You have to balance your life. You have to balance your family. And you have to get her done, and get the job done no matter what it takes. And that means accepting things for what they are and working around it. You have to be imaginative. You have to be creative. And you have to make sacrifices. This is not the case for our justice system on the world stage. This is not the case for our politicians on the world stage that you've hired to do this for you because you're at home trying to do the best you can, meanwhile cutting a check to them week after week or month after month or quarterly after quarterly or annually, however your tax system is set up. But you're paying these people that you've elected or you've elected someone to appoint these people to take care of you on this stuff. And I'm here today to tell you, Canada has not been working for your interests at all, has not been doing their job, and we literally need a mass amount of reforms here. Now, either that's through absolute constitutional dismemberment. And when I say that, Canadians and Albertans, I mean like this. We need to build a roadmap that is a set of rules so that any Tom, Dick, and Harry dumbbell who gets elected or who's got some ties to some government official, there's a roadmap of governance of how to govern. Many nations do it. Many states in the United States have gone way further than their national constitution, put in their state constitutions within their state constitution system of the 50 states that are all separate individual and are absolutely sovereign in a nation, who get to develop this stuff, who've gone way farther in over 200 years than Canada could ever dream of, because of our stupid colonial system, where we elect a leader. Hopefully they'll do the right thing. And the guy is a high school graduate who's only ever sold cars for a living. Do you think that he's going to put together anything that closely is going to resemble you when he's never had a business in his life, never ever worked for a living, doesn't have a family or any concept of what most of you, if not 90% of you, understand? This is why a constitution on the federal level has to be dismembered. There has to be a built-in roadmap of how to govern all the people. We've understood all these things. We know how the world works. And since we're all busy working, trying to run businesses, and we expect you to do the best for us on any given day of the week, we're going to have to give you this roadmap. See how long this is? And we've put in all of these positions in place to catch you with your pants down every single step of the way. And if you can't follow this roadmap that we, the people, have laid out for you so that we can go about our business being successful in any matter that we choose, whether that's in work, in profession, or in business, or in farming, then, I don't know what to say. And this is where Canadians have to come to. This is the great education that has to be bestowed upon you, the people. And it's important for people to share this stuff out, because if we continue like this, we are going to be absolutely a third world. And politicians, dumbbells, just walk in there. Oh, I know what I'm doing. They don't know what they're doing. And it's clearly proven. If anything I learnt on this world stage I was on all week, it is clear Canada absolutely has no clue what they're doing whatsoever. And they just embrace whatever comes their way or whoever fills their pockets in any given position, because there's nobody to hold them to account. And you are all like a little pet doggy. And these politicians like, look at Canadians and Albertans, nice puppy, here's a bone. They can kick the dog, they can slap the dog, and the dog wags its tail, walks right up. I'll go, here boy. That's what politicians do. And this is what we embrace, and we think that this is somehow normal, that somehow we're superior to so many nations in the world. We're not, and we're going down the hill the fastest. In this reset of global wealth transfer, the amount of debt Canadians, worst is Albertans. By far, absolutely the worst is Albertans. The gross abuses we're experiencing are per person per capita the largest in the world. I can guarantee you that. There's others that are close, but I can tell every Canadian right now, Alberta has the worst debt take on in the entire world per person per capita, besides maybe Venezuela and a few places that are not recognized nations. But in Canada, our plan over the next 3 years, we are taking on absolutely the most debt in the entire world. We're also going to be the one nation in this entire world that's not under some kind of duress or not recognized, but of recognized nations not in duress. We are absolutely going to transfer the most wealth to the most global elite ever recorded in history per person per capita. It's going generally throughout the whole world. Whether you're civil law socialist or whether you're democratic, we're all doing it. This is the great global socialist reset. And you are not going to find a true expert in any field who can dispel this absolute truth. I'm telling you that today. Now, people can choose to share this, whatever, but that's the truth. Now, that was my education, my big rant. Now we're going to move on to my final part. I'm sorry, Jarrett and Benjamin Abel. I'm going to address you guys now too, and I apologize. You've been very patient waiting, but I wanted to get this out. So we're going to talk about USA. We're going to talk about what's happening with Trump. Nobody wants to hear this stuff, but these two fellas were very, very large and in charge in American politics. These guys know exactly what they're talking about. For those who don't know, and Jared, I'm not sure if you've ever met Benjamin Abel before, but he's American. He's all about the 51st state. He's very geopolitical. And he's doing very well. He learns exceptionally fast. He's a very, very intelligent individual. He's catching up on Alberta and Canada. I think he learns very fast. And what's happening right now with the separatists in Alberta, anyway, the groups, they're at a big battle with Benjamin Abel right now. And they want to have a debate. There's a challenge for Benjamin Abel for a debate. And you know, Benjamin, I would like to do that debate. And why I talk about, and both you and Jared are watching me do these Trump posts and everybody getting upset and angry. And you're both absolutely right. And I hope you guys get to know each other. Things you guys talk about. We're going to get into Kushner and Bannon. We're going to get into what Trump is doing and what's problematic for me. And this is the last 9 weeks. For everybody, I followed Trump for 8 years, 8+ years now, actually. I've overstepped the 8 years, and I'm absolutely disgusted with the last 9 weeks of Donald Trump. I'm absolutely flabbergasted, disgusted, and very extremely upset, everybody. And I have all kinds of rights to be, because I study geopolitics, and nobody studied Donald Trump more than me. I followed him for a very long time when it wasn't popular. I understand Alberta's narrative. Everybody crucified me on Donald Trump. Try being a union man and going to work every day, and you get people who absolutely hate your guts on Donald Trump. But I did it anyway. I don't ever... I stick with what I believe is to be factual and what I see presented, and everything was great under Bannon, and then there was a portion Bannon was gone, Kushner comes in, and we watched the whole narrative change with the Trump. And now what's funny, everybody, whether people want to believe this or not, and this is for you, Jared and Benjamin, is that Trump is realizing, oops, it looks like, but I think it's too little too late. He's lost all kinds of people, insiders, Republican insiders who absolutely bolstered him. Donald Trump's highly intelligent, but he had a beautiful Trump administration for those almost 4 years until they all started flooding away because he took on the wrong narratives. And I think a lot of it has to do with Bannon. And this is where we get into the problems. Bannon was an excellent geopolitical strategist. Not everything I agreed with, just like all of you don't agree with everything I say, but regardless, I could respect his narratives and the things that he would not tackle that upset a lot of people, but he knew to fight the global socialist reset. Trump is realizing his popularity's gone nosedive. He's absolutely destroyed in the Republican Party, and now he's going back going, oops, sorry, Mr. Bannon. Just so everybody knows, I'll tell you what's happened in the 3 days. I've been busy with the World Forum, and I've had a good sleep. I've got to catch up this morning. But over the last 3 days, Donald Trump's been busy with Bannon repairing the damage, kind of bringing him back in, at least attempting to. And now, as of yesterday, he's looking at giving Bannon an absolute pass, right? He's going to pardon him. That's what it looks like. It's not done yet, but he better get snapping quick, because there's a lot of things Trump has to do here. Monday and Tuesday, that's final, because by Wednesday, it's over for Trump, regardless of everybody's bullshit. And I know Benjamin Abel and Jared Robinson, you both know exactly what I'm talking about. Trump's Toastios, all those unfactual people are like, Trump's coming, there's a secret plan. It's all horseshit. You've all been conned. This is the Kushner narrative underneath all that. It's populism, man. The gross narrative towards a populist, radical amount of BS that's absolutely corrupted the Republican Party now, and It's why Trump realizes he's kind of been had on that side, and now he's being played by those in this circle that are absolutely usurping him. Now, some people say, well, Donald Trump was a 40-year Democrat, and all of a sudden this switch to Republican. Well, Donald Trump, I would say, is libertarian. He went with the Democrat narrative because he's in New York City, everybody. Come on, massive, massive city. If you don't go that way, you're kind of screwed. And he's a billionaire, but he was America First billionaire, and he understands labor needs. He understands business needs of Americans and putting America first, as in the America First policy of the 1920s, the real one. And he tried to make his own narrative of that based on that, but it's absolute law of the states. There's no businessman who ever goes out on the world stage, or any American that ever escapes America First. I'm going to explain this too for everybody, and I don't know if Jarrett and Benjamin understand this or not, or know of it, but here's something to fill you in. America First is the concept that no American born, any American born, or anyone who becomes American, you're instantly registered worldwide. That there is nowhere you can go in this world, set up shop or business as an official American citizen and ever escape America. By that I mean you can't go offshore, you can't escape, you can never get rid of your citizenship, you're bound to the IRS. The term death and taxes, that's absolutely real, 100% for the United States of America. There's no shelter for you. There's no escape, no matter how much wealth, how much success the United States cheers you on, and sure, in their democratic system, you go for it, you be all you can be, but there's absolutely no escape for you. Now, this isn't the same for almost every other nation in the world. There is some correlations and few laws that bolster America's laws on America First. But absolutely, billionaires are terrified of that American system. When you look at the civil law socialist, the 70% of the wealthy world, what I call the globalist, or the socialist, it doesn't matter. They absolutely will never embrace America because of America First. And we don't mean bullying the world. We mean they don't embrace the idea of accountability for the wealthy class to a country or to a government or to a people. And in America, it really still is we the people. And when you talk about UN and all the organs, American citizens, everybody's got to understand this, are the largest shareholder of all world debt. Largest shareholder and recipient. Every American citizen. That is a fact. That is what the globalist socialist elite don't want you to know. They don't even really want Americans to know. And, I got to be honest, politicians in the States don't articulate this stuff at all, Democrat or Republican, and they try to usurp it with socialism or globalism to try and dumb down the people so they don't know any better either. But fortunately, the Constitution of the United States is pretty strong. Even when people like Donald Trump fall off the rails or fall into a bad narrative in the end of their presidency, which absolutely lean to destroy the Republicans forever. And another one here is that Oak Flats, which was First Nations land, is being transferred right now, breaching the absolute Treaty of 1852, and further self-determination by Richard Nixon, but completed by Ford because he was thrown out of office. And this is the Democrat narrative, everybody, to steal a group of people's property rights, enshrined, protected, and they got it going none other than by Donald Trump's current administration. Whether he knows it or not, I can't tag him anymore on Facebook, but that was Donald Trump's group that did that. I can't even tag Donald Trump's son, and they're still on their radical leanings and their radical narrative, and it's wrong. Kushner's focus. But if Donald Trump lets this go through, they're absolutely going to tear up the civil rights accomplishments of the Republican history. And when you do that, no American or nobody in the free world who has property rights is ever going to support the Republican Party again. And this violation of a civil right, and for all those who say, whoopee, what has this got to do with Canada or me? In America, if the government can steal your property rights and sell them to a foreign group with only a board of 25% of Americans on that board, so it's wealthy globalist elite, they can trade your property rights to a foreign enterprise, it's game over for all of us. Trump literally has 2 business days to at least sign an executive order canceling it. If he does that, he protects the civil rights, property rights we're talking about. A huge, huge democratic free right of this world. And if Donald Trump allows that to go through during the remainder of his presidency, before Biden takes over, it will be forever cemented that it was the Republicans who ended America's civil rights to property rights. And then the world will become a bad place. This is a terrible, terrible precedent. Donald Trump should pick up the executive order pen. The one thing he should do is shut this down now. Let dirty Joe Biden do it in the new year. Let his administration, let it be known to the world it was the Democrats who did it, not the Republicans. And no Republican would ever take away anyone's civil rights, not a true Republican. I have no way of getting a hold of Donald Trump. I can't even, I have no way. And I don't know, I could try, I guess tomorrow morning I could call Mitch McConnell's aide. I do have that number, and maybe that's what I'll do. I'll use that that last chance power, those 14 seconds, and maybe that's what I'm going to do. But this is what I'll leave you. I'm interested in Jared and Benjamin's take on everything. I'll read the comments after. I forgot my glasses here, and I can't read today. I slept a lot, and my eyes have gone back, and I'm pretty much unable to focus here. I tried. I can't look at the screen. I just get the triple vision if I... Transplants, guys, it's rough, man, and I can really... My eyes get so messed up now, it's not even funny. But... anyhow, that's what I'm doing. Benjamin, if you want me to do that debate, think about it. I'll do the debate. Because I want to see sovereignty for Alberta, but I do know the 51st state is a viable option. I'm no liar, and separatists need to know that the 51st state is a viable option, and all options on the table. It should never be dismissed. And if you want, I will do that debate. You think about it, you let me know. But I'm no liar, and it's not about popularity. It's absolutely always about truth, whether it's popular or not. That's reality. And separatists shouldn't just dismiss you and throw you away. Doesn't mean, we don't always agree on a lot of things, but a lot of things we do, and I respect your intelligence level, your growing knowledge. I'm very impressed with where you're going, and so you think about that. Thanks for everything, Jared and Benjamin. You guys are on the right track. Keep doing what you're doing. Don't lose heart. It's about education. It's about growth. It's about learning more and more. So thanks, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. I got 2 little girls. West Edmonton Mall's going to open, and they've been patient here quietly waiting for me to end my live so they can go back to their headphones, jumping around, dancing and singing. So it's always great to take in your children, and I enjoy my time with them. So that's it for Facebook today. Bye now.